Hi guys, it's Stacy here in the Oval Office, and I decided to do something a little different since we're in the middle of this coronavirus situation. I know a lot of us aren't doing gigs right now. I was supposed to have a wedding tonight that actually got postponed, so I thought it'd be kind of nice to go back through some of my old gig logs and just add some narration to it as we look back at these and just give a different perspective on that. Now, I do want to give a shout out to the person who gave me the idea about this. His name is actually Dan Bell. I don't know him personally, but he does have a YouTube channel here. It's called This is Dan Bell, and he goes around and checks out dead malls, and he actually started doing some cutting room floor videos, and that's what he calls this. That's what I'm going to call mine. So this is a cutting room floor video, and if you'd like to check out Dan Bell's YouTube channel, I've got it right there on the screen. Just go and check that out. You might find some pretty interesting things there. So definitely a shout out to Dan Bell for giving me this idea. And like I said, this is called the Cutting Room Floor Gig Log, and we're going back to 2011. Now, this was Labor Day weekend of 2011, and I always remember this particular wedding because it was during a tropical storm. We had Tropical Storm Lee, which was moving into the Gulf Coast. It actually made landfall, I think, near Louisiana, but we still got a lot of rainfall here in Pensacola. But the thing is with this, the tropical storm itself wasn't really all that bad. It created some rain and a little bit of flooding and that kind of thing. But really, that was Labor Day weekend, and that really hurt the economy more than anything because that's a big weekend, and it's the last big weekend of the summer. And of course, a lot of businesses around here, really look to those tourists to have one big last weekend and make a lot of money, which didn't happen because a lot of tourists got scared and went home because they thought we were under major storm. But now what you're looking at right now, this is western Escambia County, Florida. That's the county that Pensacola is in. We were almost in Alabama, and in just a few minutes you're going to see how the weather really deteriorates really fast. It doesn't look really that bad right here, but you'll see it here in just a second. There we are. This is Perdido Key, Florida, right on the Alabama-Florida state line. And this is exactly why they tell you don't get out and drive in the middle of a tropical storm or anything like that. Because look at this. This is only 60-mile-per-hour winds maximum. And you can see how bad that was. That was all I could do to keep the van on the road there because it was, really blowing. The wind was blowing because we were just right there, right by the Gulf of Mexico, just on the other side of those condos there that you see off to the left. That was the Gulf of Mexico. You'll see how rough that water was here in just a second. But let me tell you a little bit about this particular bride and groom. I actually met them. I think they inquired through my website, and they were from Nashville, and they decided to get married here. So this was a destination wedding. They decided to get married in Orange Beach, Alabama. And originally, they were going to have their wedding out on the beach. I wasn't involved in the ceremony, but they were originally going to have their wedding out on the beach, but they decided to move it inside, and so they had it in a room upstairs. And you can see the room there where we had the reception. And look at my setup there. Yeah, that's so those lights I still use today, the Revo 3 and the Revo 4, the Galaxian 3D. Now the uplights that you see around the room, those are actually not my uplights. They actually hired another guy to come in and do that, but I was really impressed with that. And of course later, I got some flat par cans kind of like those, and that's what I use now. And of course the speakers that you see, those are my big 70-pound JBLs I no longer use. And those were, real heavy to haul around along with that big QSC amp that I used to haul around. So that's what I was still using back then. And this is like I said, a pretty nice big room. We're at the 11th or 12th floor of this condominium complex, I believe. And we're going to walk over here in just a second. You're going to see his a gobo projector that he supplied. Again, I didn't do the gobo for this, but you can see how what that looked like there. I'm not sure if that was an LED gobo projector. I don't think it was, but yeah, you can see how he had that set up there. And let me tell you how I got my equipment. And you were probably looking at the video a little while ago and seeing how the rain was blowing sideways and all this other stuff. Well, actually, I was able to drive my van up to about like the 7th or 8th floor, and they had glass all around the parking garage there. So the wind and the rain didn't affect my loading at all. I'm glad it did. I was able to do that. Now look at the Gulf of Mexico there. See, that's like I said, that's just a tropical storm. So you can imagine what it would look like if it was a major hurricane. That's why they tell you stay out of the water. And we actually have surfers that like to go in that. So that's pretty crazy. Whenever we have even a minimal tropical storm here, people just don't understand that even a minimal tropical storm can cause some damage too. And I'm walking back in there. This isn't where I loaded in, by the way, but you can see how my hair is blown there. And I'll never forget that. And by the way, if you'd like to take a look at the original commentary or the original music and everything from this gig log, I posted the link to this original gig log in the description of this video, so you can go back and check that out. It's also in the playlist for September 3rd of 2011 right here on my YouTube channel. Just go back and look through the wedding gig logs, and you'll see it there, and you can hear all the music and the original narration that I had. So yeah, anyway, you can take a look there and see what the uplighting looked like around the room, and I really was impressed how that was handled. I mean, I really like that uplighting, and that's what inspired me to go ahead and start getting some flat par cans, which I eventually did. I want to get some more of them too, but I really thought that looked sharp. And like I said, this was a very fun bride and groom. Again, they were all from Nashville, and all their friends and family. And everybody was from Nashville. Nobody was from around here, so that was pretty exciting. Being able to party with them. And you're thinking, okay, well, what happened with the tropical storm? During the night. Well, the tropical storm actually, all the winds started dying down as the reception went on. And when I break down in a little while, and you'll see me driving, you'll notice that the weather was a lot better than it was when we drove in. But there we are doing the cake cutting. You can see everybody there. This is one of the few weddings I've seen where everybody just focuses right there on the cake cutting. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've done weddings before where I've seen people on their phones or something like that. Not everybody, but I noticed all her guests were looking right there at the cake, which is what I like to see. Here we are with the father bride and the mother groom dance. They decided to do a combined dance there, and you can see everybody paying attention there as well. And here we are with the bride and groom's first dance. And of course, the bride and groom's first dance, that's always the big climactic moment of the whole reception. And that's what we build up to. And that's what I tell my brides. We want to make sure that they get their moment right there. That's their moment. That's the biggest, the most important moment of the whole reception. Now, here you are into open dancing. You can see the Revo 3 and the Revo 4 there on the ceiling and the Galaxian 3D. And I have actually had some guys, ask me about that. They'll say, well, this was 2011, even back in 2010 and 2009. And here it is 2020 and you're still using these lights. Well, here's what I say to that, okay? Yeah, these lights are over 10 years old, but look at it this way, okay? Think about the very first time you ever saw these lights. Think about the first time you ever saw the Revo 3. Now, wasn't that cool? You were mesmerized by that. Well, you got to think about this for a second, okay? Our brides and grooms, even in 2020, when they're seeing these lights, they're seeing them just for the first time. So to them, it's like that experience of what we experienced when we first saw them. So that so it's real easy for us to say, yeah, you've been doing this for 10 years and still using the same lights and things like that. But you got to think, to our clients, this is a brand new experience. So I mean, for us DJs, we see it all the time, so it's really nothing for us, and it's real easy for us to say that. But our clients are seeing these for the first time. And look at that lady there in the skirt and the white shirt. That's the mother of the bride. She really had a great time that night. I was really having a good time, as you could tell. And see, there's all the bride and groom's friends and everybody, and they were just having a good time. Also, this was the opening weekend of college football too, and a lot of times, we'll have football on in the background. They did have football on in that flat screen TV that you saw in the background. But as you can tell, this group was really more into dancing. I've seen some that are just really into football, and they'll go stand right there in front of the football screen, in front of the TV and watch the football game the entire time and not even pay attention to the music. But this group didn't. They were, I think they may have had a few people go over there and watch it, but they were really into dancing, and that was one of the fun things that we had that night. And you can see they were all, excited and just having a good time there. We really partied all the way up until the end of the reception. And again, just another fun bride and groom. Now here we go. As I'm driving out, I'm showing you here the parking garage. You can see that we're up there on the floor where I'd loaded in, and you can see right there where that glass is, right there behind those cars. You can see how the whole parking garage there was glassed in. From about the third or fourth floor up, that's the way it was. Now the second and first floors of the parking garage were open, and you'd be exposed to the wind and the elements. But that's what made my load in so much easier, because I was able to drive up to about so I want to say 6th or 7th floor or something like that, where I was able to get an elevator to load in, and that made things so much easier. So yeah, and of course by this time the most of the winds and rain had actually stopped, and we were still seeing some rain at this point, but it had mostly stopped. But like I said, having that glass around there on that parking garage really just made things a whole lot easier when it came to loading in, because that was one thing that was really worrying me when I was driving over there. Is how was I going to get my equipment in the building there? With the wind blowing sideways and the rain blowing sideways and stuff like it was. So that made it a whole lot easier. Okay, now if you look down the street there, you see where that stoplight is. That's actually in Florida, and we're still in Alabama. So that gives you an idea. This is just right outside the condominium complex of where this wedding took place. You can see how close the Florida state line were, really just literally down the street. And we're going to drive. You'll see the Florida state line sign here in just a minute. And just a second ago, there on the right, we passed this place called the Floribama, which I wasn't sure if it was open that night or not, but it's actually a nightclub that is right on the Florida-Alabama state line. That's why they call it the Floribama. And the building itself is actually on the state line. So when you go in the building, you can either go into Alabama or go into Florida. So there we go. There's the Welcome to Florida sign as we come into Perdido Key now. And yeah, like I said, though, the weather had just really improved a lot since it had when we first got there. But it was still raining there that night. And I remember, it was just it was good to be able to know that this bride and groom didn't cancel. And like I said, originally they were going to have their ceremony out on the beach, but they decided to move it upstairs to a big room that they had there at the condominium complex. And the bride was a little upset over that, but that's okay. You know, she still got her wedding in. She was still satisfied with it. I mean, you know, these things happen. That's one of the risks that you take when you live along the Gulf Coast during hurricane season. You know, brides understand that, you know, sometimes these things can happen and a tropical storm can disrupt your plans. That's just a fact of reality of being in this area. So yeah, again, that was just another fun bride and groom, and that really taught me a lot about uplighting. Looking at that one. So anyway, you know, I hope you've enjoyed taking a look back at this video, and we got more to come. And I'm gonna be going back through some of my videos this upcoming week, and we'll do another cutting room floor gig log next week. You know, just to kind of talk about that, and just look back at some things. And then as soon as this whole coronavirus pandemic's over with, we'll start having live gig logs again. So more recent ones, and we'll look forward to that. And I know I'm looking forward to getting back to work when we can, and I know you are too. So yeah, you're gonna see the little thank you note that I left to the bride and groom here, and I hope you enjoyed that. I still like that uplighting. I think that looks sharp. Alrighty, that's where we're gonna leave this. We'll talk to you next week with another cutting room floor gig log. Practice and enjoy.